The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
The clerk's office has to check it. The judge's chambers are typically called. The government, the state's attorney's office, or the U.S. attorney's office is called. People aren't just given these documents and then released.
That's a good point, because, Mark, listen, someone on social media made a very good point to me. They said, Don, anytime you get documents like this where someone's sentence is going to be reduced or released or whatever, it should be originals with a raised seal and original copies, original signatures.
To me, this is, it shows you in this kind of internet age how easy it is to forge documents. The most stunning thing about all this is that these were guys who had life sentences. These were not somebody who was sentenced to 180 days and was released after 10 days, early because of overcrowding or anything else. These are people who were not even eligible under a prima facie basis for parole. And you would think that somebody at least would have been able to check, and they would check. And now I just love the fact that they're each pointing at each other. And, the Department of Corrections is pointing at the clerk of the court, and the clerk is pointing their finger at them. It just shows you whenever one of these things happens, this is always what I always call the newspaper test. Nobody wants to be the one who reads about it in the paper that they were the ones responsible for somebody being released.
They were before we get to talking about how they did it, investigators, officials in Florida were under tremendous pressure to capture these men, correct?
Oh, they sure were. And I mean, the fact that one was released September 27th, the other one was released October 8th. They weren't sure if this, was done together or separately. And I've got to tell you, this is bungling that I just haven't seen before. It's like Keystone Cops bungling, especially because if you look at the motion was apparently, supposedly filed by prosecutors to reduce sentences. That doesn't happen. Prosecutors rarely, if ever, do something like that.
Let me explain what happened here, get into sort of the minutiae, so to speak, the details, and then we can go into what happened. The legal-looking documents that set these men free contained bogus reproductions of signatures, including attorneys and Judge Belvin Perry. It had the seal of the Orange County Clerk of Court's office.
It's the system itself is disorganized to begin with. I have had clients who are released early accidentally. I've also had clients who probably were held a little longer than they should have, or I've seen that happen. I'm sure Mark has had similar things happen. The people who are calculating the time served are not always paying as much attention as the actual inmates are to how long they've been there. And it is essentially a very complex system. I was saying earlier that you can find these orders online. Judges post their orders on the court's website. I found, at that signature you're looking at, I found that on the Ninth Circuit's website 2 hours ago with about 4 clicks.
And Belvin Perry says his signature is very easy to copy, right?
Well, it's easy to copy in the sense that all I have to do is crop it on a PDF and stick it on a document, and voila.
That's the issue.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.